Taming the High Cost of College, Episode 61.
You have kids, they grow up, and before you know it, it's time to plan for college.
Where do you start?
How much is it going to cost?
Will you qualify for financial aid?
Should you be looking into scholarships?
When will you be able to retire?
What about student loans?
The list of questions is never ending. The good news is, all the answers are right here. Welcome to the Taming the High Cost of College podcast. Here is your host, certified financial planner, Brad Baldridge.
Hello, and welcome to Taming the High Cost of College. I'm your host, Brad Baldridge. This week we have an interview with Sandra Noonan. She is the writer of a blog called This Writing Thing at thiswritingthing.co.com. She has some great insight on being a collegepreneur. And if you're not sure what that is, I encourage you to listen to this whole episode. But the gist of it is, while you're in college, you have the opportunity to take advantage of what's available at the college. And most students need to understand how to do that so they can get the most for their money. It encourages students to do things like build your network and understand what services are available. Take advantage of your alumni network. All kinds of great things that you can do in order to get even more bang for the buck that you're spending on college. As always, show notes are available at tamingthehighcostofcollege.com/61 for the 61st episode. I appreciate any reviews that you provide for us at iTunes or Stitcher. And let's go ahead and jump into this great interview. All right, today we're sitting down with Sandra Noonan. She is the founder of This Writing Thing, which is a blog that's out there for everyone to read. Welcome, Sandra.
Hi, Brad. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. So you have a blog out there called This Writing Thing. A lot of the parents that might be listening to this may not even understand what a blog is. So could you explain a little bit about what This Writing Thing is?
Sure. This Writing Thing, it's at www.thiswritingthing.co. I started this blog after reading a story about a University of Pennsylvania freshman named Madison Holleran. Madison was 19 years old, studying at UPenn, and she took her life January of that year. She was described in the articles I read as a perfectionist, an athlete, a frequent user of social media, so a very typical girl, and she crumbled under the pressure of college. And that story really shook me because I recognized a lot of Madison in myself and in a lot of young women that I know and that I see. So to your question, I began the blog in reaction to Madison. And the blog is a website where I take themes about college that really resonate with me, and I write pieces of advice and hopefully insight that can help young college students make sense of an experience that is increasingly complex. College has become a real puzzle to people in the 21st century. So that's a bit about the blog.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, tell us a little bit more about yourself then. Where did you go to college, and kind of how did you kind of grow into this blog idea? Sure.
I graduated from Duke University in 2004. College from the very beginning for me was a stressful journey, and in a good way, in the sense that I was a great student in high school. I worked really hard, as I'm sure the children of your audience are as well. And I had some great choices. I could go to Duke or I could go to Harvard. I got a full academic scholarship to Duke, and so at the very beginning I made this wrenching choice of which college to go to. I was very blessed. But from the beginning I struggled with these choices, and so I went to Duke. I graduated in 2004, and I'm currently a writer living in New York. I've worked in a number of fields, including media and journalism.
Okay, so when you say you're a writer, do you write for a particular company, or are you, explain what your job looks like?
Sure. I'm a freelance marketing consultant at the moment, And I began my career as a reporter at Bloomberg News here in New York City. So I was doing print journalism and broadcast television.
Okay, so now you write for whoever agrees to hire you on a short term. Is that what a freelance writer does?
That's right. That's right. And that really shows, I see my career as a little bit of an illustration of how the workforce in the 21st century is really evolving towards a more of a freelance model. And I kind of think about how college can prepare students for a career that's entrepreneurial and flexible. So we could maybe talk more about that if you'd like.
Absolutely. We'll get into that in just a second. I have one more question about or maybe an idea here. So I guess print and journalism has gone through the revolution, so to speak.
Yes.
Which is, there used to be a lot of writers working for a lot of newspapers, and now people don't buy newspapers. So the whole way that stuff gets written and paid for and everything has completely changed in the last 10 or 15 years. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. The news business has gone completely digital. And in thinking about that, in terms of career choice and skills training, and what skills you try to acquire in your higher education, we could talk for hours about the journalism industry. But what I'd say is that the market for talented, strong, compelling writers is not going away. So I think that's encouraging.
Right. And as somebody that hires writers, I would agree. The challenge, of course, is people are now hiring writers that can write. They no longer have the kind of the training system where you go to work for us and you start at a low level, assistant level, and then you're going to learn, from our star writers, and eventually you'll become the star writer. Now they just want to go straight to the star writer and skip all the other steps. At least I do as a hiring person.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great point. So on my blog, I do explore how you train yourself to become a compelling writer, and how that can position you for career success.
Right. So let's talk a little bit more about entrepreneurship, because you have a great blog post that I read, and we will link to, by the way, in our show notes. But you say that why do you need to become a collegepreneur? So first of all, what is a collegepreneur, and then why?
Sure. So the Collegepreneur post is my most popular post to date. I think it's resonated with students and readers, even parents, a lot. And here's a little backstory on how I developed the Collegepreneur concept. There are a lot of intelligent people out there. They're in a minority, but they're out there who say that college isn't worth it. There's a famous investor and writer named James Altucher, who I would highly encourage people to subscribe to his mailing list, especially college students, who says, don't bother with college. Now, I don't agree with that. I think you should go to college. But I think he makes some very valuable points about college not serving students the way they might expect it to when they graduate and look for a job. So the Collegepreneur is a concept I developed in response to the people out there who claim college is not worth it. And so my argument is, listen, the 21st century economy is definitely changing. The college system is not always lined up with the challenges of the 21st century. The academy, academia, they function in a slightly different universe. And so as a student going into college today, you need to think about a few things. Number one, the cost of college has increased by 300% in the last 30 years. And at the same time, wages for college students are declining. So you're paying more for college and you're getting a lower level of income than you would have in the past. The central question of the Collegepreneur post is, how do I get maximum value out of my college experience given those realities? And so to put it very succinctly, a collegepreneur is a student who manages the college experience so it doesn't manage them. So in the post, I recommend ways to take charge of your college experience and not just kind of let the college system take care of you, so to speak.
Right. So can you give us an example of that? What kinds of things might you do?
Sure. So the mistake that I think I made in college was I don't think I was a collegepreneur. I picked a major, took my classes, and got the best grades I could, and kind of trusted that the system would take care of me. I think the collegepreneur turns that approach on its head and says, I have a mission here, and I am going to use the resources of my university or college to pursue a passion or an interest while I'm in college that positions me to pursue that as a career leaving upon graduation. So a collegepreneur will say, I'm not just going to take classes and get good grades. I'm going to find an interest and pursue that full speed throughout the college experience, whether it's being a political activist, whether it's getting a job on the side that lets you pursue a passion that complements your course load, or whether it's starting a blog. I encourage students to develop as entrepreneurs by starting a blog and really chronicling a certain goal or passion that you have. So a collegepreneur will take an opportunity, use the resources of their university, and run with it. And at the end, when they graduate, they will have something to show for their college experience aside from a transcript with good grades.
Absolutely. And I think that's part of the big shift now is depending on the industry. And again, as an example, in the writing industry, I think employers are looking for results, not resumes. So they, if you can produce what they need, they'll happily pay for it. But until they're comfortable that you can produce what they need, it gets a little more challenging.
Absolutely. And so to that point, I was reading an article recently about how to pick your major. And someone interviewed in the article said, listen, if you are interested in something while you're in college, it can be journalism, it can be novel writing, it can be science, research. If you're interested in any of those things, you shouldn't just be interested in it, you should be doing it. And so from the position of a writer, my argument is there's no excuse not to be practicing what you love in college. Don't wait to graduate. Do it now.
Absolutely. Okay, so if you're interested in becoming a collegepreneur or you're a parent of someone that's looking down that path, any ideas on how parents can, facilitate or encourage their kids kind of beyond that? Typical, sure. I'm just going to pick a major and off I go?
Yeah, I would say a few things about that. First of all, as we were kind of to reiterate what we've been talking about, as a parent, I would tell my child, listen, your career doesn't need to start after college. It can start during college. So that one thing you're interested in, do it now. And it can be on a small scale. We're not talking about doing anything that taxes you emotionally or strains you to finish college. We're talking about just cultivating something on the side that complements your classes. So number one, your career doesn't need to start after college. It can start during college. Number two, I would say, and I think this is really important, remember that what worked for you in high school may not work for you in college. And I think parents should really keep that in mind, that the child that they reared through their high school years is going to encounter an entirely different set of challenges in college. And so the identity that your high school student worked so hard to develop in high school, they may find a lot of friction in college and need to wipe the slate clean. So whether they were a star athlete or whether they wanted to be a writer, in college they may find that none of that makes sense anymore. So it's scary, but as a parent, I'd loosen my expectations, especially during freshman year, and give them the freedom to wipe the slate clean on who they are. So that's number 2. And then I'd say a third thing. Start with a question when you get to college. And for me, the most valuable question that I would recommend to my child is start with, what value do I want to add to the world? And what kind of life do I want to live? Don't start with the question, what am I going to major in? Or how am I going to make money? Or what jobs have the most security? Start with what value you want to add. And I think that will add up to a very rewarding college experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Some good points there. So I guess another area that I think falls into the entrepreneur area is things like your network and social media and kind of the contacts that you walk away from college with. And again, that's one of the strong selling points, I think, for some colleges out there is you're going to rub shoulders with a lot of sharp, bright people that are going to go on and be doing things. And they're great people to know 10 and 20 years down in your career. So what is your thoughts as far as on that front, building relationships and social media and that kind of stuff?
Great point. And I would definitely agree that the relationships you nurture in college, 15, 20 years later, can be intensely valuable to your life. I graduated 15 years ago, so I'm in a good position to attest to that. So a few things on social media, and I might take that question a different direction than some people might anticipate. But when it comes to social media, one recommendation I have for kids starting college is to do a complete rethink of your social media habits. And what I mean by that is to use social media more thoughtfully. One of my most popular blog posts is called "Stop Using Social Media to Look Cute and Happy," which is supposed to be a provocative title, but it touches on this trend in our culture that where kids are using social media to kind of display a perfect image of themselves. And so in college, what I'd say is go off the grid a little bit. Forget about social media for at least an hour a day and just focus on real relationships. And if you're going to be a social media addict, use it in a way that develops you or an interest. So in my blog post, I say, if you're starting a campus organization, hit on social media to make that organization the most digitally savvy and social media heavy organization you can possibly imagine, and make social media a lever for your success. So that's one idea I have on social media and networking.
Okay. Yeah, another thought that I have, and get your opinion on it, is kind of setting up any sort of organization or career path that you're interested in. If you're interested in being a freelance writer, join freelance writing groups on social media. If you're interested in building rockets with Lockheed, then join, rocket science areas and learn about that. But there's a lot of good professional uses for social media, and it's time in college to start figuring that out.
Exactly, or better yet, start that organization. And this goes back to the collegepreneur idea. Be a collegepreneur and start things. Don't look for the college system to provide them to you. If that organization doesn't exist, start small with 2 people, and you've got an organization. And that is the seed for something greater. And that's what college is all about. That 2-person organization you start freshman year in your dorm could be the company that you become CEO of 10 years down the line. It's, it sounds a little far-fetched, but that's how things begin. And so college is about planting those seeds.
Right, absolutely. So as a parent, again, if I'm involved with social media myself, and should parents be supervising or be involved in social media with their kids at this point, or is it completely hands off and let the kids run with it and do what they want to do with it?
I don't think it's hands off. I think the person you're sending to college is still a child in many respects, if not all. Maybe a legal adult, but college poses so many challenges, even to the most confident and poised student, that it shouldn't be a surprise to you if your kid falls apart a little bit during freshman year. The amount of choice that college students face is so dizzying, and is part of why we need more discussion about how to manage college so it doesn't manage you. So to your question, Brad, I'd say, if I'm a parent of a college student, I would definitely keep tabs on them via social media, and maybe even set up some times to communicate with them by social media directly. So definitely I'd stay engaged.
Okay. So I guess I'm kind of wrapping things up here a little bit. How would you measure a college success based on kind of your new criteria? I mean, most people would say, well, if you graduate on the dean's list and you get a good job offer from a stable company, that was the dream certainly 20 years ago and 30 years ago, is, you get your foot in the door, work for where you're going to work, and you can work there for 30 years and retire happy. What does a college success look like today?
Sure. So this answer is very personal and is going to depend on the person. But if you're looking for a meaningful college experience, I think there are a few things that 4 years from now you can look at and use as a gauge for how much meaning you got out of your college experience. And those are, number one, did I discover a vocation? Did I discover something about myself that makes me happy, that can add value to the world, and that I can get economic value from, that I can make a salary from? Versus, did I take the right classes to get the right job? The risk of the latter is that you end up in a job that doesn't make you happy. And happiness is no soft or fuzzy thing. Happiness is the ingredient for a sustainable career that generates earning potential. If you're in an unhappy career, you're not going to be a great earner 3 decades down the line, because you're going to be burnt out. So one metric for me of a successful college experience is really forgetting expectations that your family or society or your friends impose on you, forgetting what it means to be prestigious or conventional definitions of what it means to be successful, and really doubling down on your vocation. What was I meant to do, and how am I going to use college to build a career around what I love to do? And really, Brad, what we're talking about is an entrepreneur. That's what an entrepreneur is in my view. So that's number one. I'd say number two, what relationships did I establish in college that 4 years later I can rely upon as a network, and those relationships are amazing sources for opportunities in the future. In college, when you're graduating with a job, you think, I'm done, I've got my job, I'm all set to go. Connections with my classmates aren't that important. Don't fall into that trap. They are incredibly important and can be a source of major opportunities when you least expect it. So I think I'd say those two things, vocation and relationships. And both of those rely on a sense of self-awareness, knowing who you are. So that's what I'd say.
All right. Well, great. Well, it's time to wrap things up. But before I let you go, can you give us a couple quick tips as far as what parents and students can do to further their college career and kind of take advantage of the stuff we've learned today?
Sure. So I would reiterate again that your career doesn't need to start after college. It can start during college, and that doesn't mean getting a stressful job in college if you don't need to, or it just means pursuing your vocations in a way that add up to a meaningful career when you graduate, and doing it when you're still in college. A few tactical tips would be get off the grid, get off social media, and pursue real life relationships. And also for your mental health. I don't think social media is very conducive to wellness a lot of the time. Another tip would be write a mission statement. Again, start with a question when you get to college. What value do I want to add, and what kind of life do I want to live? And then I'll just add another tactical one, which is limit the number of mundane decisions you have to make in college. You're faced with so many choices. One of my most popular blog posts is about creating a college uniform for yourself, so you don't have to decide what to wear every day. Just little things that make your life flow. It's not having a lot of decisions to make is not necessarily a good thing. So those are a few that I recommend on my blog.
All right. Well, great. I appreciate all this great information. If people want to learn more and get in contact with you, how can they do that?
Sure. So my blog is www.thiswritingthing.co. It's .co, not .com. And on the blog, there is an about page where people can contact me directly. I also have an email address. I respond to all my readers. I'm at Sandra@thiswritingthing.co.
All right. Great. Well, I will put all that information in the show notes as well, and I really appreciate the good information you provided today. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
All right. That was a great interview. It reminded me a little bit of some of the training I've received recently on creating a brand around yourself. In other words, a brand called you. It's kind of some of the new buzzwords out there, but essentially there's a lot of training out there right now about people, even if you work at a 9-to-5 job for a particular company, that you also build what we would call your personal brand. So as an example, when you bought your last car, did you buy it from a particular dealership or a particular salesman? And if that salesman were to leave that dealership and go to another dealership across town, would you continue to work with the salesman, or would you find a new salesman at the dealership? In other words, is the brand that you respect? Is it the salesman? You like the salesman, he helps you out, he does what you need done. Or is it the business itself, where you don't care who the salesman is, you want to work with that particular business? I think the same philosophy can be applied in our careers. I think a lot of college students could learn this idea, which is essentially that what you do and how you do it gets put on your resume all along the way, and you continue to build your own contacts within the industry. As an example, if you are in the publishing industry, maybe you belong to the Writers Guilds or other areas where you can meet other writers and other publishers, where people learn about what you do beyond your direct association with the company you're with today. Or if you're a doctor or lawyer, what happens if you change hospitals or change firms? Will your patients go with you, or your customers or clients? In a lot of cases, there's a big issue in the financial industry. Did you hire your financial advisor, or did you hire the financial firm that the advisor currently works for? A lot of times when advisors leave, they take their clients with them, and there's often some lawsuits. So thinking about how you can build brand loyalty to you as a person, or to you as a salesperson, or whatever it is that you're doing, is something that can start in college. How do you start building brand loyalty? What are you known for? What are you an expert in? And that can start in college, and that can help you find your first job or carry you into your career. So I think that's a great concept. We touched on it in this interview. I just wanted to kind of refocus it a little bit as a thought where you say, all right, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it on purpose. And maybe you teach your children a little bit about the concept so that they can do it on purpose starting now, whether they're in high school, in college, or beyond. All right, that's all we have for today. Again, if you'd leave us a review in iTunes, I would greatly appreciate it. That's all we have for today, and we will see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Taming the High Cost of College podcast. Now it's time for you to take action. Head to tamingthehighcostofcollege.com for show notes, bonus content, and to leave feedback for Brad. The next step on your college journey starts now.
Brad Baldridge is a registered representative of Cambridge Investment Research and an investment advisor representative of Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Securities are offered through Cambridge Investment Research Incorporated, a broker-dealer and member of FINRA and SIPC. Brad owns two companies, Baldridge Wealth Management and Baldridge College Solutions. The Baldridge companies are not affiliated with Cambridge Investment Research.